Yeah, so the internet lied to you because if half the stuff people believe about guns was true, America would have literally exploded by now. Like, literally. We'd be living in a Fallout game with Uber Eats. Because according to the internet, every gun owner is one bad mood away from turning into John Wick, and apparently fires nukes too. And apparently, just seeing a gun gives people supervillain thoughts. And the wildest part, a lot of this nonsense is repeated by people who've never touched a firearm, never trained with one, never even been within 20 feet of one without their heart rate jumping to the freaking moon. So today, we're going to do some quick housekeeping and talk about some of the biggest firearm myths that people still believe to this day. And before we get into it, real quick, if you mess with this channel, do me a favor, hit like, share this with somebody who swears they know guns but absolutely doesn't. Subscribe if you're new, and drop a comment even if you disagree. Especially if you disagree. The algorithm loves engagement, and I love the chaos. Now, let's get into it. We're breaking down the biggest firearm myths that people still believe, where they came from, why they're wrong, and what the actual reality looks like. Some feelings might get hurt, and hopefully they do. Myth number 1, guns just go off by themselves. This is a pretty classic one, and it didn't just come out of nowhere. This myth exists because when someone has a negligent discharge, admitting fault has consequences. Legal ones, social, sometimes financial. So instead of saying, I screwed up, people humanize the gun. And movies don't help either. Hollywood treats guns like they have a mind of their own. You drop it, bump it, or even a dramatic close-up, and it just goes off. So now we've got a whole generation that thinks firearms are basically these possessed objects. You hear it after every negligent discharge. Oh, my gun just went off. No, it didn't. Guns don't have free will. They don't wake up choosing violence either, and they don't get moody. A modern firearm requires multiple deliberate actions to fire, including a loaded chamber, a functioning firing mechanism, and most importantly, someone or something pulling the trigger. And that's it. If a gun just went off, what actually happened was someone had their finger on the trigger when it didn't belong there, ignored basic firearm safety rules, or handled a firearm they didn't truly understand. And instead of saying, I messed up, they blame the object as a scapegoat. That's like rear-ending someone and saying, nah bro, the car just felt a little aggressive today. No wonder people think you're a menace to society. Myth number 2, AR-15s are automatic military weapons. This myth refuses to die, and this one is mostly branding and somewhat political, but the term assault rifle with regard to being sounds extremely terrifying, so it gets slapped on anything that looks even remotely tactical. Media outlets ran with it, politicians ran with it, and now people assume AR-15s are just military machine guns that escaped the local base installation. People hear AR and immediately imagine machine guns with endless bullets and a firearm that turns into a helicopter when it's fired. But let's slow down a little bit. AR doesn't actually mean assault rifle. It means Armalite rifle. The company that designed it, Armalite. An AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle, 1 round per trigger pull, and has the same firing principle as most pistols. It does not spray bullets anywhere and everywhere. It does not fire faster because it looks scary, and it does not gain extra power from being black and angular, unlike other things. Functionally, it operates the same way as many hunting rifles, many common handguns, or like your grandpappy semi-auto from 1961. The difference people react to is the aesthetics. Scary furnishings on a weapon doesn't mean it has an additional scary function. That's all in the mind. To myth number 3, high-capacity magazines turn people into killers. This one sounds emotional, but logic absolutely wrecks it through. This myth really took off in the 1990s when policymakers just needed a simple, visible thing to point at and say, hey, there's the problem. And the magazine size was easy to explain on TV and didn't require much understanding of human behavior to agree with it. The argument is that limiting a magazine size will somehow stop mass violence. Okay, let's kind of walk that through. Reloading takes what? 2 seconds, maybe 3 if someone is stressed? Anyone committed to harming others is not stopped by a smaller magazine. They're stopped by resistance, distance, intervention, or just never getting the chance to commit an act of violence in the first place. The magazine limit only really affects the law-abiding citizens, home defenders, and people who are actually following the rules of the law. Criminals don't go, Dang, guess I'll respect this 10-round limit. They'll just bring more magazines. Evil adapts, but the policy doesn't. And that's the problem with this myth. Speaking of crime, number 4, more guns equals more crime. And this one gets repeated like it's the laws of physics, like it's some scientific finding or whatever. And it usually comes from just these really surface level statistics with zero context, where there's seemingly a correlation between the number of guns in the area and the amount of crime. A spike of crime happens somewhere, and people just connect the dots that don't actually exist. And nuance doesn't really survive cable news, but emotions do. But reality doesn't really cooperate with that. Realistically, if more guns automatically meant more crime, the most armed places in the world would be war zones, and they're not. As a matter of fact, some areas with the highest gun ownership rates also have the lowest rates of violent crime, also have a strong culture that is surrounded by strong community gun culture, and emphasize training and responsibility because it understands the implications of owning a weapon. Meanwhile, cities with strict gun laws still struggle with illegal firearms, repeat offenders, and violence concentrated in small areas. You can look at the entire state of California that has the most mass shootings to date in the entire union. Yet they are also the mecca for gun law. See, the uncomfortable truth is crime correlates far more with poverty, gang activity, a lack of consequences, and overall a cultural breakdown within the entire community rather than just a lack of lawful gun ownership. Susan owning a Glock in Southwest Florida is not the problem. It's Shaquisha down here in Southwest Atlanta. Anyway, leading us to myth number 5. You don't need a gun for self-defense. Come on, really? This is usually said by people who've never needed one, which that's great. You've never been in a position of anything beyond comfort, and it shows. If you've never felt unsafe, never been outnumbered, or lived where help is far away, it's easy to assume that self-defense tools are unnecessary, often from gated communities and areas with really fast police response times. Don't have an understanding that we all don't have the same advantages. And self-defense is about context, not ideology. If you're smaller, older, disabled, outnumbered, or simply just facing someone who's stronger than you, a firearm becomes a great equalizer. And rather than waiting on a police response that takes minutes, you can prevent an act of violence, which normally occurs over the course of a few seconds. Now, don't get me wrong, a gun doesn't guarantee safety, but it gives you a chance. And that's what matters in those moments. Myth number 6. Training doesn't matter. Guns are the problem. This is pretty lazy thinking. This is in line with saying, cars are the reason for automobile accidents, not the lack of actually competent drivers on the road. And this idea honestly just comes from a broader cultural standpoint in which objects, instead of systems or education or responsibility, are held to the responsibility of the people using those objects. Learning and teaching takes effort, but banning sounds much faster, and it is. Tools amplify the already pre-existing behavior. A hammer can build a house, or it can destroy the wall. The difference is the user and their intent. And in a responsible gun culture, we emphasize safety, education, repetition, and respect for the consequences that be. You don't reduce accidents by pretending guns don't exist. You reduce them by teaching people how they work. And ignoring the reality doesn't make it any safer. It just makes your ignorance that much louder. Lastly, we have myth number 7. Gun owners are just waiting to shoot someone. And to be honest, speaking for someone from the gun community, this one's a bit insulting. And it comes from just straight media farming. When the only time gun owners are shown is during crimes or extreme clips online, people just start to believe that's a norm, when in reality, it's the loudest 1% getting all the camera time. Most gun owners don't train specifically to avoid conflict. They just hope they never have to use their firearm, and they understand that the legal, moral, and emotional weight of pulling the trigger. Carrying a gun just isn't about ego, it's about responsibility. Nobody understands the consequences, wants to actually test them. The loudest stereotypes usually just come from people who've never actually talked to real gun owners, just like freaking Twitter avatars. Now, the real conversation that nobody wants to have and the truth that nobody likes is that guns aren't magic, and they surely aren't demons, and they're not even the solution to everything. They're just tools. And tools require education, accountability, and honesty. We can't fix violence by lying about firearms and not understanding the truth. And we can't reduce harm by ignoring reality. And we definitely can't build policy based on vibes and fear. If you want real change, the truth starts with you, not just myths. If you made it this far, you clearly care more than most about what it is that I'm talking about. Not because you agree with everything I said, but because you listened, and that's rare. So, question the talking points, learn the mechanics, and talk to real people. Fear spreads faster than facts, but facts still win when you actually use them. Before you dip, same thing I said at the start. If this video helped you out and made you think or pissed you off a little bit, like the video. Share it with someone who still believes one of these myths. Subscribe if you want more of this energy and comment your thoughts. I love to read them, even the wild ones, they make me laugh. Fear spreads faster than facts, but conversations beat both. I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, stay zeroed in. A lot of this nonsense is repeated by the same people who've never touched a firearm, never trained with one, never even been within 20 feet of one without their heart rate jumping through the freaking moon. Let me start that over.